Here we are, the Web Radio Network. We got Brother Joshua here, Brother Joshua Sparks. Hi, Brother
Good to be
Joshua
here.
Sparks.
Hello, Mercedes. How you doing?
Very good. Like I think I see somebody behind you. Oh
Yes. No, that's not Melissa.
my
He goes by many names: Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Big Baitai, uh, Big Ump is what my uncle called him. Hitch Coffee. My great great grandmother called him Hitch Coffee. Called him the devil of the forest.
God. Wow.
So
So we have had so many conversations now. I mean, I think a lot of conversations, but we never really get to, spend the whole hour talking about this. And so it's kind of my mistake. I was thinking we had a guest tonight, but we didn't. It was next week. So it's great though, because we decided to go ahead and take this time to actually talk about these sightings. And I did a little video, Bishop Joshua, before we came on, and I was explaining like this is not about scary right now. These are some encounters that you had that were amazing encounters. Like if I could encounter this, I would. I've never seen anything like that. I've never really grown up too much in the woods. My grandpa had a farm in Arkansas, close to Little Rock, Nashville, Arkansas. And I loved it. I would love to go back to the woods and live there again. But even though he took us to the woods a lot because it was border, it was right on it was a big big ranch. It was my favorite place in the world. And but I remember always walking in the woods. We'd walk down to where the ponds were, and we'd fish in the ponds. But I will tell you that I do remember watching a TV show because he had TV, and but
you act like it was you act like
I
it was so long ago. You know.
yeah, there was TV, and but we watched that. There's an old Bigfoot show. It was on TV, and it was a movie about
Was it
how the
was it the Legend of Boggy Creek?
yeah, the
Oh
Legend of
yeah,
Bobby Creek. Oh,
that was a scary show.
I know. I remember seeing that at his house, and he was the character. So he would always tell me like, um, whenever we go in the woods, he'd say, "Watch out! You got to watch out!" And because it was some kind of name, like you have to be careful for it. But
Big
that
Bay
was
Tie probably.
yeah. I loved him. He died when I was that was almost like the beginning of my abilities, I guess, as a child. But I remember having a dream that he was sitting at the kitchen table there at the farm, and he was looking at me, and he wouldn't talk. And I had my little horse, which I still have today, my horse toy, and I was like, "Poppy, Poppy," and he wouldn't talk. Well, so the next morning when I woke up, my mom said that Poppy, they had just left a message on the phone. We had phones that he had passed away. So he had passed away, and that's how come I was seeing he was giving me a message, or that's what I believe. But
He came
anyway,
to visit you.
go
This
ahead.
is he came to visit you.
Yeah, as he was leaving, I'll never forget that. But so yeah, so the times there were really fun, and I remember thinking that the woods were scary, but I also felt that the woods were peaceful because of my poppy, and because of he would let me ride my horse. He had a horse Mac, and I was little, and I would just get on and ride that horse everywhere. I was not afraid. So I'm sure that is similar to what you have experienced because you grew up there. You're on the same land in the same area, the same house that you've been in since you were little, right? So go ahead and
hmm
tell us a little bit about it. I'll quit talking now.
Oh, you don't have to quit talking. Did you ever? I was going to ask you. I was curious. Did you ever hear any vocalizations? Anything that didn't sound normal? Any normal sounds that you hear around the woods? I mean, any kind of whoops or any screeches or screams or
No, not that I recall from when I was there. But here on this property, we have heard unusual growls. I mean, that's one of the things I mentioned in the documentary was a growl, and it was like it was here, but it was not on. It was here, but it was not where we could see it. It was like
So
right with us. So as far as that, and we've seen unusual things here on this property, but at that time, other than that, I've never experienced anything like what you have experienced.
was it a guttural growl, like a real deep?
Yes. So the story goes, like I've been posting on Facebook. I had stopped talking about what had happened. I never talked about too much of it anyway, but I really stopped talking about it while we were waiting to get this film in distribution, or if it even would get finished and then distribution. But what had happened was this was at the height of the pandemic, and my I'm not going to say names or anything, but certain family members had also moved onto the property, plus the other family members, plus Joe and I. And I remember I was outside in the backyard, and um, I heard it was close to dark, so it might have been around this time where it was still light, but just getting dark. And I heard this little girl's scream, like she was right beside our fence, like right there. And we live on property, but we have a wood fence. And I'm like, oh my God, because we have at that time I had my grandchildren were living here, so I was thinking it might have been her. So I'm running out, and as I'm running out, the other family member starts to run. We almost run right into each other, and he's like, "Did you hear that?" And I'm like, "Yes." Did you hear that? And I'm like, "Oh my God, yeah!" It was because, and I'm like, I said, "Where is this little girl that we know that is the property?" Sorry, Joe's in the house. If you hear any noises, um,
We love you, Joe.
I think that's Joe. Might be somebody else. It's Joe.
We
I
love them too.
was just in the midst of the story. But so really, what happened was is that scream was not who we thought it was. It was somebody else. And that's what happens here. The children are here and they scream and they laugh, and they're, all kinds of things that happen, especially then. But the thing is right at that moment, as we're like looking around, like chills were all over us, like, because we both ran to that scream.
Right.
And that's when the growl happened. It was like a guttural growl. Joe did not hear it. It was me and my other family member. And it was loud, and it was, I can't even do it. I mean, it was that guttural, whatever that sound is, but it was very loud. And it was as if it was right with, like there was a creature standing right there with us.
I
And that,
think Brent last week described like
oh,
the growl,
yeah,
like it sounded like the T Rex on like that
yeah.
real deep guttural type
Yeah, and
predatorial type
when I had
growl.
first heard that with Brent, several when I first met Brent via this similar way, we had talked about it. I'm like, because that he brought that up after I mentioned that, because and that was like that was so frightening, because that it's there, but you can't see it. And that's that was one of the things I realized as we kept growing and growing and understanding that definitely they come through these, I believe they come through these portals, that, I mean, they're in dimensions, they're dimensional creatures. Now, so that's similar to what we've talked about before in other things, and I've talked about that before. So how do you feel about that? Did you ever hear anything yourself that was a growl?
Oh yeah, growls, whistles. I've heard chatter. It almost sounds like languages, and that's not uncommon. That's pretty common. There's different. I forget the name of the guys. I forget the guy's last name. Ron was his first name, but they recorded what's called the Sierra Sounds. And one of these days we'll have to play it on here. We'll have to get everything set up and have a bunch of audio and some video and stuff to share with everybody. But you can
Yeah.
actually hear Bigfoot, a male and female, talking back and forth, and this Ron guy even talking to it and them communicating back and forth. Um, Ron was repeating what the Bigfoot creature was saying, and then finally it got aggravated at him, and you could hear it hollering back at him. But it's pretty fascinating. There's one video out of Canada. There's a guy named Mike, and I forget his last name, but supposedly he has a Sasquatch that lives on his property. This Sasquatch just said his name, Mike, called him brother, and actually, it's so cute. You'll have to let you hear it. The Sasquatch sang to him and played like something that sounded like a drum beat. Um,
Oh,
so the Native Americans. I
yeah,
mean,
I would love to hear that.
it's pretty cool. I mean, when you talk about Bigfoot or Sasquatch, you have to look at it from all point of views, like historically, folkloric, scientific, metaphysically. Um, and you have to include the Native American traditions, their sightings, our evidence, their evidence, and there are some cryptozoologists who have some scholarly commentary
Yeah.
that they discuss, and as to why they think there is a Bigfoot and why it's real. Now, there's been thousands of people that's seen Bigfoot over the years, I being one of them.
Right.
Um, I have a minister friend of mine who never believed. He thought I was crazy. A lot of people think I'm crazy, but that's okay. Um, I'm on my way to heaven, and the journey gets sweeter every day. Somebody told me one time, they said, "Josh, you're a nut." I said, "I may be a nut, but I'm bolted to the right screw." Right? I'm bolted to the Lord Jesus Christ. But he said, "You're crazy in believing in Bigfoot." Well, he said he was driving down the road and he looked, and there was a bale of hay. You know what a bale of hay looks like, the big circular bales. I don't know if
Yeah.
y'all have hay out in
Well, we
Arizona.
have hay, and we have a yeah we get we're in the midst of hay everywhere.
Okay.
Hay
Okay.
bales and farms.
Well, you know what I'm talking about then. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, when everybody thinks about Arizona, though, they think, well, they ain't got grass out there. It's all sand. It's all dirt. It's all,
No, they do raise hay.
I know
We
they do,
don't, but our neigbors do. And yeah,
um, but he said he saw
not all
something
cactus
moving.
here.
Somebody was telling me that they were walking through the desert there. And I don't know why this has nothing really to do with what we're
No.
talking about, but it's a funny story. She was walking. She's one of my clients. She was walking through the desert and had nothing to drink. She was walking for 2 days. This policeman drives by and wasn't going to help her. He was off duty, and it would have been a 10-hour walk to the next gas station. I mean, she's walking in the desert, so she breaks open a cactus and is going to drink from it. He says, "I could cite you. It's against the law to face a cactus out here." She's like, "Well, you know what? I'm thirsty." She's like, "I'm getting ready to die, and you won't even give me a ride." He said, "Well, I'm off duty." And his wife was on the phone, and she griped at him until he gave her a ride to the gas station.
Oh, so this is like I was thinking this
No,
might not.
this is a real story.
Oh wow.
Yeah, she was walking in the desert, and I don't know how in the world she ended up in Kentucky, but she's here now. So, but that reminds me of that song. I've been to the desert on
Is
a
it
horse
all?
with no name.
No.
And then he found water, and he was, everything
Yeah,
went crazy.
in
I
the
guess that can
desert.
happen when you're parched, right? When you're thirsty, anything can happen.
Yeah, that's
Um,
amazing how many things you can drink. I mean, the cactus will keep you alive.
is that
Here.
true though? Can you get in trouble for busting open a
Well, I
cactus?
mean, I mean, I think if you were needing something like that and you're out, that no one's going to say anything about. But yes, I mean, there is a lot of the desert that you're not supposed to. I mean, you're not supposed to take the things away. You're not, especially the saguaro, like even the saguaro skeletons that we deal with. We have for caveman fabrications. Like that's one of my favorite things is the saguaro skeletons. I think of them as the the guardians of the desert, and I love them. And Joe will make these skeletons, but you cannot just go out and pick them up. These things they're thousands of years old, which is amazing. So by the time they get to be really big like that, and all of a sudden maybe their skeleton is, you see them like they're not like they look like people out there when you drive by, but they'll be the skeletons. And so that is something that we'll refurbish. So we have a lot of them, and I'll put them around. And I think of them as the guardians of our, one of the, the guardians of the property. That in Navajo, I mean, in Native American, especially even in our area, I've seen a lot of films and read a lot that they did actually believe that their people, the Native Americans, believed that their people would come back and stay in, and those would be spirits in the cactus in there. Yeah, I just love history.
I do too, and I love the Native
Oh, you're
American culture.
Cherokee.
Yeah, Cherokee and Creek. My grandfather was Chief George Sizemore, who was back years ago was chief of the Cherokee people.
Wow,
So
I'll have to find out about that. Like, so that's amazing that you had. I mean, that's your history,
mhm. Yeah,
and your
and
grandmother is something else too.
yeah, she was. She was a wonderful woman. Taught me a lot about my heritage. Um, but she's walked on, as we say in Native American uh, language or lingo. When you say they walked on, that means they
Yeah.
passed. So
Well, now,
um,
what I don't mean to get off our subject, but when you were growing up, was she mainly teaching you the traditions, about spiritual traditions that way, or did she also open up, with Jesus?
she was a Jesus woman
Yeah.
through and through. I mean, she knew all the old medicines, all the old herbs, and how to heal from the land. And she knew every plant, every tree. She's the first person that ever gave me a chew of tobacco. My grandmother chewed tobacco until the day she died, 84 years old. A week before she died, she stopped chewing. She
Wow.
chewed tobacco until she's 84 years old. Um, but we'd sit out in the swing and she talked to me about the Lord, and she was one of my biggest supporters of my ministry. She was always there whenever the doors were open. When I pastored a home missions church, she was there, and she was with me a lot of times when we went out looking for Bigfoot. And we've seen Bigfoot together, she and I. And if she was here, she'd tell you about the
Yeah.
times we seen, that we experienced Bigfoot together.
Tell us
Um,
tell us about that those times. I was trying to recreate it today in AI, but it didn't want to do it correctly. But I was
See that
trying to,
guy back there?
there
Kind
he
of
is.
looks like him a little bit. Um,
Yeah. So tell us what happened with you and your what was her name? What was her Indian name?
her Indian name was, let me see here, what was it? I can't remember how it was. Because see, mine's Toodi Dunga, which is soaring hawk. Dad is Tali Toodi Dunga, two hawks soaring. Grandmother we called, it was running wolf, but I don't remember how to say it in Cherokee.
Okay,
But
that's all right. We'll get
she
it.
was of the Wolf clan and the Bird clan. Um, we were part of the Indian Creek Band of Chickamauga Creek. We go back hundreds and hundreds of years in northern Florida, and Georgia, Alabama, up into what was called New Echota, which is in South Carolina area, parts of North Carolina. Um, and it's funny, our people have fought for hundreds of years to get recognition by the federal government. They won't recognize our tribe. Um, Even though we have more proof, historical proof of who we are. But a piece of paper and a card don't make you who you are.
Right.
Um, but
I've
you
heard that
know,
it's very hard to get your tribes recognized because so many, like, I watched a lot of documentaries on this, and so many of the tribes, moved on, and clans, and developed other clans and other clans, and some of those aren't recognized because they didn't stay in the main group or something, and they moved to different
mhm.
locations.
Yeah, our family hid out from the removal from the Trail of Tears. There was more than one Trail of Tears, but our family escaped and hid out in the hills. Um, so um, that's why we wasn't recognized. We didn't do what we were
Right.
supposed to do, so to speak.
Right.
But I'm glad we
Thank
didn't.
God.
Yeah, thank God. I'm glad we didn't. I've
Yeah.
been to Oklahoma, stationed in Oklahoma in the Army, and I don't like Oklahoma. I'll just tell you that right now. I don't like being outside marching and it perfectly nice outside. And 5 minutes later, tornado sirens going off, and it turning pitch black. It's like crazy. You never know when a tornado is going to come through there, and you have to
Right,
run, get in
Oklahoma.
the. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, oh my goodness. So,
We
but we.
lived, so we lived in Texas, but we would go to Texoma, so the border of Texas and Oklahoma. And, when I was a kid, there were never any tornadoes in Dallas. But now, like, they'll come right through Dallas a lot now. So, I mean, it is different, but we can go talk about the weather, but we'll make that a different show.
We had,
Tell
I
us
mean,
a
we can
little
tie that
bit.
into their patterns of travel and stuff. I mean, I believe that because Native Americans and um, astronomers and astrologers have said that the Earth has shifted, that the moon's in a different place, the stars are in a different place. So that affects everything. I think that's why our weather's been affected. We had 75 tornadoes touch down in Kentucky just last week. I don't know how many thousands of storms warnings there were. I was asleep. My son comes stomping through the house. Dad, there's a tornado warning. I said, shut up, go back to sleep. I want to sleep a little bit longer before I have to go to work. I mean, if you're, listen, I get it. My grandmother used to say it's a poor set of feet that won't take a body out of danger. But, every one of us has an expiration date, unfortunately. And, I'm ready to go to heaven. I mean, I know there's a lot of work for me still left to do on this earth, but if he calls my name, call me gone. I'm out of here. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of different things.
Well, when you saw them, tell the story about when you saw them with your grandmother and you were
Okay.
driving.
Well, when I
I
first
think
saw
that's
him, when I first saw, we used to travel. There's a road called Greenfield Road. Excuse me, and it connects into a little road called Kaiser Creek. It's blacktop now, and there's a bunch of fancy houses up there, but it used to be nothing but woods and gravel roads. I used to take my best friend Sean through there at night when we was going to pick my mom up and make the lights flicker and turn the car off as we was driving so he'd think the car was dying, just to scare him. I was awful. He's like, come on, man. And funny thing is we was doing a paper out together one night and my alternator went out in my Subaru and he was out on the hood of my car with his cell phone flashlight shining so we could finish the paper out. 3 o'clock in the morning. I guess that was my way of being paid back for doing him that way.
your cell phone.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah. This was crazy times. But we
Yeah.
were driving. We were driving on Greenfield Road on this little gravel road, and excuse me, the road goes to the left, goes up on the hill, and then it keeps going straight. Well, we used to sight our guns in there. You could just step out of the car and just shoot any gun you had. I'll never forget. We were sighting in our guns, and Dad had just bought a brand new 44 Magnum, and he set a bunch of bowling pins up on this table. He said, "I bet you I could knock every one of them bowling pins down." I said, "I bet you can't." Well, he went to shoot his gun. It was a big, dirty Harry style 44. The 8 and 3/8 inch barrel. He shot and blew the leg of the table off, and all the bowling pins fell. So I guess he did blow all the pins over. But on that same stretch of road right there is where we first saw Bigfoot, my grandmother and I. It's about a 6 foot deep creek line. And we were in an SUV in an old Chevrolet Tracker, which was just a moderate to mid-size SUV. Um, and we were driving with the windows down, listening to Native American music, or either that or Christian music. My pastor R.A. West used to listen to him a lot on the radio as we drove. And it had a cassette player, so that was one great thing. I don't know why they don't even put CD players in cars no more. But
I apologize if you see me looking down. I'm trying to be on the chat at the same time, so
oh
I'm
no,
listening.
you're fine. You're fine. Um, but we're driving, and I notice eye shines. So you're talking about maybe 75 yards out. I see these eyes, off in the distance, and as we're driving down toward these eyes, they're coming at us quickly, and The thing that was strange about it, this is about 6 foot deep. This little creek line is, and it was looking eye level with my windshield.
Wow.
So this thing's probably about 9 foot tall, and I'm like, trying to hurry up to get up to where it's at. And by the time we got up through there, because you got to remember it's gravel, so when you're driving through gravel, it's throwing
Yeah.
dirt everywhere.
Yeah.
So we get up there next to it, and it's gone. And I thought, maybe it jumped down in the creek line. Well, I jump out. My grandma was like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm gonna get down here and see if we can find this thing." So she gets out of the car too, because Granny was meaner than a striped snake. I mean, tough as a pine knob too. And she was ready to get out and get him, put him in the back seat, whatever it was. And he was gone. No trace of it. I don't know if it got ran up the hillside. I don't know if it could cloak. I've seen videos of Bigfoot cloaking.
Yeah.
Like the what was the name of that movie? Kevin Peter Hall played in, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and my friend Sonny
Or
Landon.
the one about the monster.
Predator.
Predator. Oh my God, that's the scariest movie.
It was.
Yeah, whoa. So you, it was Lee Hampel, and so I think Brent was saying that he had just interviewed Lee Hampel, and he was telling me, he showed me because I interviewed him, and he has all kinds of footage where all of a sudden the camera, it's like a mist will come by, or it's like you'll see like a cloak or some sort of cloud come by, and that's like real footage. Like it's him leaving the cameras out. So do you think that's what happened? Like, did you feel as if it was there, or did you just feel like it just disappeared?
I think it. I mean, that's a good question. I'm not sure if it disappeared.
Watching you.
I mean, it could have. I mean, there's a good chance that it could have. I mean, um, my friend, and I'm not going to mention his name, but he lives here in the same county as I do. And one of my childhood best friends used to come down every morning and drink coffee with me before he went to grade school. He was a wild man. He was like 15 years old in the sixth grade. I love him. He's one of my best friends. I'll never forget. He jaywalked across the street or something, and one of the patrol kids told on him he got a whooping, and none of them would admit to it. So he whipped the whole patrol, every one of them, every one of the guys that was school patrol. He whipped every one of them, beat them up. But
That's terrible.
I know, and this guy was my role model. I mean, if anybody had messed with me, they'd have been in trouble because this guy was. He was my best buddy. I preached his mommy and daddy's funeral, buried both of them.
Mm.
And I love him. He's just like a brother to me. But he had cameras set up around his house. It was a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week live feed. And he actually captured them on camera walking up onto his property. You could see their whole body, the enormous size of them. And they walked by the camera. I mean, you could see their shoulders and their backs and stuff. They walked right. They wasn't afraid. I mean, they'd come right up on his property and get his chickens and everything. Of course, he took all the cameras down. He got tired of the, I guess if you want to call it the hoopla of people trying to come out there on his property and find out what was going on. But it's ironic because that same stretch of land, those woods. Stretched out there toward his property. I mean, it all kind of comes together. Those woods do, and that same place there on Kaiser Creek on Greenfield Road. Me and my oldest son. This is back in October of 2006. We were walking in the woods off that road. And it connects to a little road called Shopes Creek, and it connects to a road called Hurricane Hollow. Hurricane Hollow was the road that this woman was actually on Coast to Coast. She talked to Art Bell. She was on Art Bell's program when he was doing the program after he left Coast to Coast before he died, talking about the Bigfoot sightings she had on Hurricane Hollow. So it's probably the same Bigfoot that we saw, which is just a street or two over. We had discovered what we call tree breaks. These are saplings that are broken, sometimes twisted,
Yeah.
7, 8 feet in the air and then bent over. And there's no way a human being could do this. Something walked through the air and just grabbed those saplings and twisted. Probably that guy right there. Twisted them and just bent them to the ground. And uh, they had made what we call teepees, you know, teepee designs out in the woods, and we see them all over the place in that area. And as we was walking, my son was 5. He's be 24 this year, so he was
Okay.
5 years old at the time. So this is a long time ago. He pointed and said, "Dad, hey, Daddy, there's a Bigfoot right there." I'm like, "What? What?" I said, "Where?" And he pointed up at the location. It was about 50 yards away, up on the ridge line, and there was a Bigfoot standing right there at the top of the hill, the top of this ridge, and it looked at us and it went, "Ugh," kind of grunted at us, acknowledging that it seen us and wanted us to see it. I mean, I'm talking 8.5, 9 foot tall, every bit of it, 8.5, 9 foot tall. Um, and you know, there was a small tree beside of it, and it kind of broke that tree in half, and it took that stick. I know this sounds crazy, and it
Yeah.
started hitting that tree with the stick, making a noise. And we stood there. We was frozen, you know, and there was no smartphones. I think I had a flip phone at the time, and it didn't get no service down there anyways. And the cameras, remember how horrible the cameras were on flip phones? I mean,
We didn't
that's
even
like,
have. I didn't even have a flip phone really, but
well, you
I
need to
I
go
was
buy
late for
one so you
cell
can
phone.
experience it.
Huh?
You need to
I
go buy one.
remember. No, I remember when I first got one, but I was really late in actually getting cell phones and things. I
That's
don't
all
know why,
right.
but I just was. But I've heard many times that they make make sounds, and that's one of the common things that they'll do to scare people or to let you know they're there.
I
It
didn't want to
wasn't
leave.
like it was scary though to you,
No, I wanted to stay. I mean, I wanted to stay there and watch this creature. I mean, we stood there, and what really made me turn and leave is it started walking toward us, and it let out this loud moan or this scream like, and then it grunted. And I felt then that we had probably wore out our presence. And I took my son. We slowly walked away, and we were there. I think probably 5 minutes, maybe at the most. And every time, it seems like every time I see a Bigfoot, I freeze up, and I can't help but to admire their enormous size. And then the other thing that I noticed though about them is the gentleness that they portray. There's a gentleness about them. There's something in their eyes that that is gentle.
yeah.
And there's these enormous creatures. I mean, this thing was 7.5, 8 foot, maybe 9 foot tall. It probably weighed 400, 500 pounds, maybe more than that. It was covered in black hair. It was dark, so I mean, my flashlight didn't really let me see its face, but it did. One thing it did have, it had a distinct odor, more than just an outdoor odor. It had a distinct odor, and it was wow. It was a
Yeah,
nasty smell.
yeah,
Um,
like a skunk.
Kind of skunk and a dog, and body
Really?
odor,
They don't
and
take a bath really until they get to
well, they
go.
should.
Well, they probably do that for also just to keep them, like a lot of them, they keep things away that way. They'll, even in where the wild, all kinds of creatures will have certain smells just to keep other creatures away,
Right.
you
Yeah,
know.
it's used as a form of protection. Yeah, absolutely. And that's probably exactly what they use that for.
And
Um,
so you tell you you saw a family. So
yeah,
the reason, I mean, this is rare. I mean, and I know that you're not one of these people that is out talking about this all the time, but I've listened to these things for a long time. I've listened to David Pilates, whatever. I love him. I think he's really great.
he
I
is
mean,
great.
research. But I've never heard of anybody saying that they have seen them in the way that you're seeing them. So I think it's your relationship with God. I believe that they feel connected and not afraid of showing what their family is to you. That's what I believe, your connection.
Yeah,
Talk about that and share that with people.
okay. Excuse me. And it's always been there was Melissa went by. She's back there as
Oh,
Bigfoot. Mercedes says hello, Melissa. She said hello. Uh, she was taller than Bigfoot. Did you see that?
taller than the Bigfoot.
But this happened probably. Um, I think that this happened around October. Um, it was fall. The leaves were on the ground. It was kind of chilly out, so I had a jacket on. Um,
How
I've
many?
had about 12 sightings at this state park, um, and one time I even seen um, a white Bigfoot there,
Hmm.
solid white. Well, his head was solid white down onto his chest and arms, but then he was brown, had white hair mixed into that in the collar. But the one that I saw in particular, it was probably about 2 o'clock. It was mild. Like I said, the leaves had began to fall, and I had my camera. Um, it was one of the disposable cameras. Remember the kind that you take a picture and then you roll
I do remember
the
those.
film. And I had some binoculars, and um, and I did have some bread with me. I like to leave some things out. I'd planned on going out there to see something, and I went out there. Um, I placed the bread on some rocks, like I normally did, and I was walking through the little trail there by this certain cave that goes down over a hill. You have to go down over a hill into the stairs, and they do guided tours into this cave.
Hmm.
And I walked up on the ridge, and as I was walking up on the ridge, I heard something real heavy. Walking like a big person. I thought, there's somebody else hiking out here. Well, yeah, that was right. There was somebody else hiking. He was about 8 foot, 8.5 foot tall, probably weighed 800 or 900 pounds. And he just kind of turned and looked at me as if, "Hey, how you doing?" He kind of acknowledging me, and I acknowledged him. Of course, I froze in my tracks, and I wasn't aggressive. I wasn't moving on because obviously that's his house. And I called him Big John. This guy, that's what I called him, Big John. He was enormous. I've never seen hands on anybody else. I've seen some tall people. This dude's hands was twice as long as my feet, and I wear a size 12 tennis shoe. I mean, his hands were huge, enormous. And his feet were huge, and his legs, the muscles. There was no fat on him. I mean, you could see his chest muscles, and you could see his arm muscles, but his face was not like that. That looks like a monkey. That picture, that image behind me. He had more of a. I mean, he had the protruding forehead, of course, and the sunk-in eyes and the high cheekbones, but he almost looked like a cross between. He looked Native American. He looked human. But just there's something about their eyes. A friend of mine down in southeastern Kentucky, um, he always used to have an old saying: "When you look into the eyes of the rank stranger, you'll never forget it." Maybe we can get him to come on the program one of these nights. You talk about a fascinating man.
Okay, that'd be good.
Lots of evidence he has, and he's a wonderful man. He's involved in martial arts too, and there's a lot of people that are involved in the martial arts community that have had a lot of experiences. People that I met, Bishop Darrell Chase, my friend, uh, he sees them in Louisville. He's seen them walk the ridge line. Maybe we can get him on, have him talk about his experience. But we met on this ridge, and it was very fascinating because after he looked at me, he turned and just walked up over the ridge and down over the hill, proceeded to walk over the hill, didn't make a noise, didn't grunt, didn't growl, anything like that. And
How far away were you?
when I seen him,
Yeah,
about 15, 20 yards.
that's not much.
If I'd have turned and tried to run from him, he could have took 3 or 4 steps and caught me, you know. Um, and, you know, I, as a kid, I was raised around these stories. And I've had people say that's why you see the things that you see. It's pareidolia. It's your mind making it up. You're seeing things. Well, when I find the negatives to those pictures that I took, I promise you, you'll see that it's not pareidolia. I'll show you the pictures. I've got the proof. Um, I put them out, published them on years ago on the computer. I don't even know where they're at. Maybe my friend that uh, done research down in southeastern Kentucky, maybe he's got copies of the pictures. I'll have to ask him. But I'm going to find the negatives. But I walked up over this hill, and when I did, there was a whole family. There was 4 or 5 women, female Bigfoot, a couple juvenile Bigfoot, and little tiny Bigfoot creatures too. The females were holding them. One of them was solid white, a little white baby, solid white. I don't know why it was solid white, but it was pretty fascinating. And they were all just sitting around, and he felt so comfortable with me being there. And he walks over and sits down on the rock with his back turned to me. So to him, I wasn't a threat, and he didn't feel like I was. I've heard of people that have had encounters where were chasing a mama Sasquatch and a baby through the woods, and they shot their gun, and that female Sasquatch threw a pebble, a small rock, and hit the person so hard in the throat that it bruised the back, or no, hit him in the back of the neck so hard is what it was, that it bruised their esophagus. A hit in the back bruised the esophagus in the front.
Yeah.
It's a wonder she didn't kill that person.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of stories like that.
That makes me, I mean, so you've lived there all your life, but has anybody ever caught anything? They've never caught a Sasquatch Bigfoot.
Well, there are, reports out of southeastern Kentucky, and I've not been able to confirm this or verify this, but there's reports that there was a lady walking her dog in southeastern Kentucky and was attacked by a Sasquatch, and it killed the dog. And there's reports that the men went into the woods and found this Sasquatch and killed it. Now, if they did, the government probably came and got the body. If you look at some of the maps that the military gives out when you're out training, when you're in the military, Sasquatch is listed on there as the animals in the area, as one of the native animals on the maps. So, they know they exist. Now, and my wife and I, we've heard stories about this Sasquatch over in a place in Ohio called Lake Vesuvius. And it's probably, what would you say, Melissa, about 20 minutes from here? If that. It's out in Ohio, which we border Kentucky, Ohio, West Virginia. We all 3 states put together.
A lot of sightings in Ohio.
Lots of sightings. My friend Dallas Gilbert, that's dead. Dallas Gilbert produced a lot of stuff, and he made a movie called Not Your Typical Bigfoot Movie. You need to check it out. It's pretty cool. Dallas Gilbert and Wayne, I forget what Wayne's last name is, but they made a movie together. It's pretty cool because you get to go into Dallas's world. I got a friend of mine in California named Billy Evans. We need to get on here and interview and let him show his research. I've known Billy for many years.
Come to you guys and film and see, just like you could take me and we could film it and we can make a little documentary.
Yeah, we can do that.
Wouldn't that be fun? I mean, who knows? Maybe there's something you'd see, or we could even interview some people that maybe are seeing things now, because you're in a little community. But you said you live in the city, but I don't mean to cut you off. I know you were going somewhere with that, but
that's okay.
But yeah, so that would be fun to do sometime. I think that would be fun.
Yeah, it would be. I can take you.
And it's sacred land. Isn't it like sacred land? I mean, because it's Native American land. Mm-hmm. So part of what I'm doing is something about sacred land. That feels like that's what God wants me to do, is to go and to look at this different things. I don't want to talk too much about it, but that would be considered something I would think that would be very sacred.
It would be.
And uncovering. Well, it's almost like explaining the unexplainable.
Exactly right.
Our title of our show.
That's right.
That's right.
Well, this creature. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, what happened then?
Well, this creature over there in Ohio is very, very aggressive. It's been shot. It's had all kinds of different things done to it. There's reports that this creature, these people were drunk, 5 or 6 adults drunk, and they were in a tent and they were making all kinds of noise. And Of course, I've always heard it say a drunk man don't lie, but that's not true. But they claimed that as they were partying in this tent, that all six adults were inside, and this creature picked them up, tent and all, and threw it in the lake. And when they came out of the tent, they seen this creature. It's got glowing red eyes, and it's very mean. They tried to get in the car and get away from it. It picked the back end of the car up. It was rear wheel drive, and they couldn't drive away. And it shook and shook and shook until it tore the trunk lid off, completely off the back of this car. And they got away finally. But this, they say you can hear him moaning at night and screaming really loud. He's very aggressive. So we don't want to go over there, and we don't want him to cross the river, so he can stay over in Ohio.
And I would bring, we would make offerings. So we would go and, do prayers. We're not going to go hurt anybody. I don't want to hurt anything.
I've never taken a gun or nothing with
her dog, so she wasn't trying to hurt anybody.
No, she wouldn't.
I think it's rare, though. I don't believe it. Yeah, there are less times, I think, where they're hurting you, right?
I don't believe that they hurt anybody. I don't believe that story's true. It was told it was told to me by a reliable source, but how reliable was the person that told them?
Right.
So,
a bunch of drunk people in a tent.
Right. And what happens is, when you start telling stories like this, it makes people want to go out and hunt these creatures, hurt these creatures.
Yeah.
And if something isn't violent, why? Somebody said, well, I can't believe you go out in the woods without a gun. I'm like, I'm not worried about going out in the woods. If I encounter a mountain lion or a bobcat or something like that, if I have a stick, I'll shoo them away, but I'm not going to, that's their living room. It's like it's like you breaking into somebody's house. Right. Sure, I'd protect myself or my family. But if you're in the woods and you're not out there hurting anything, I think animals can pick up on what type of spirit you have.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that if you have an aggressive, evil spirit about you, that animals are aggressive and mean. But if you don't, then they'll be gentle. I've never had any issues. I've seen bobcats in the woods. I've seen all kinds of stuff that has never turned to try to attack me or growl at me or anything. I'm just not afraid of those things.
Right. I agree with you on that. We just had a comment.
I seen that. I was getting my glasses and it didn't stay on.
It was from
Lorraine.
Thank you. So,
hey, Lorraine.
Yeah. So it says there was a woman, I believe, in Kentucky area who claimed there was a whole family on their land. And she said the male would come and ask her dad for salt. Years after her father was dead, she would get a knock on her door and it would be a male, and he would go. He could talk enough to ask for salt. She would bring him some salt and he would take it and go away. Mm-hmm. See, that sounds like who you're talking about. They just, they can tell. They can tell. Thank you, Lorraine, for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you, Lorraine. Well, maybe the southern Bigfoot, the Kentucky Bigfoot, might just be gentlemen.
Yeah, they're just gentlemen. They're just gentlemen. They really are.
I've heard that story that Lorraine's talking about. They even mentioned it on George Norrie too. They've mentioned it on there before, on Coast to Coast on George's show. And I've heard Art talk about it as well. There's also a friend of mine who wrote a book called Mysterious Kentucky. And he's got several of my stories mentioned. Yeah, we need to. He's very, very fascinating man.
I love this subject. And so we've only got a few more minutes left, but I was wondering, have you ever seen, because I know where you're at, and you said that you are not far from where the Mothman was sighted in that little community. The community has left my brain for now.
It's Point Pleasant.
Point Pleasant.
Yeah, Point Pleasant.
So have you ever seen anything in the sky? Because you've seen them on the ground, but not in the sky.
I've never seen, I've seen things in the sky. Of course, I've showed you my videos. I've seen UFOs, and we'll talk about that one day. Hopefully get the videos on. We'll get them to stay in and let him put them on. But I've never seen any Mothman type creatures. I want to. Now, one thing, we was in Point Pleasant. I used to work on a garbage truck. I was a driver, but I was with my friend Dave. I could have Dave come on and verify. We were out in a place called Hamlin, West Virginia, which is way out in the middle of nowhere. There was a road we drove down. It was so funny because Dave said that he said, "Man, I seen a ghost, a lady ghost down there. Watch out when you're driving down that road." The lady ghost was a lady bringing her dog out to pee every morning. I actually stopped and talked to her. She wasn't a ghost. She was actually real. But the road opposite of that, on the other side, we pull down and we're on next to the train tracks, and there's these red eyes running as fast as they can up the tracks toward us. We don't know if it was running or if it was something flying, and it's in the Point Pleasant area. So he guns it and backs up into this driveway. We went out of there throwing gravel. I mean, we was getting.
So it was like up high, you think?
Yeah, it was. If it was either something really tall or it was like floating toward us, and it was coming quick. We didn't stick around to find out what it was. In that same area, though, we was in Point Pleasant in Mason County, uh, doing a garbage route. So,
Oh,
we were looking. I promise you, we were looking, and we talked about it the whole time we was up there. We seen the place where you could go where the bunkers were, and where
yeah.
they spotted and saw the Mothman. And they actually, when you and Joe get to come up this way, we'll take you up there. They actually do a tour. You get on a bus and they take you around and show you the different places where Mothman was sighted and take
Oh,
you
I
out to the
love that.
bunkers and stuff. They've got the only Mothman museum there, and it's in West Virginia. Also, Bigfoot has a museum dedicated to him in West Virginia, so we'll have to hit both of those
Well, I've
because you
seen the
can't do
one
Mothman
on
without Bigfoot.
TV, the Mothman one I've seen on TV a lot, or in documentaries.
It's
I
pretty
would
cool.
love to go there. I'm sure
Now, my
Joe would be
friend,
cool. He's
he'll come
afraid
along,
of
right?
everything like that. But
Now, my friend that wrote that book, you can go on and look up the Spotsville Monster, Spotsville, Kentucky. His whole family was what word am I wanting? They were terrorized by a group of Sasquatch. It was all over the newspapers, all over the
I
media
think I've seen
in the
them talk about
70s.
that, and they would throw rocks at their house.
Yeah, that was my
I,
friend that lived there.
oh, you know that because were they on Small Town Monsters?
He might have been on Small Town Monsters. He's
'Cause
on all
that's
kinds of different shows.
yeah, and they would. It's up in the yeah, and then there was a family, and they were throwing stuff, and it was on and on and on and on and
Hmm.
on.
Yeah, my friend was a young man, a young child when that happened.
Oh my God, you know
And
a lot of people that are cool like that.
I used to be really big into the Bigfoot community until
Oh,
they started fighting and arguing, and I walked away. I didn't
oh
want
my
no part
gosh, you
of it.
didn't know that.
Yeah, there was a lot of fighting, and back in the early days of course, it's all to do with evidence and things like that. And I just got
Right.
tired of hearing people, well, where's the proof? Where's the evidence? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not even going to waste my breath fighting because we used to talk about it when we had Explaining the Unexplainable back in the 90s on Pal Talk. Um, and we talked about it a lot, and Art Bell talked about it a lot, and George Norrie, and then, Dave Schrader has talked about cryptozoology and things of that nature as well on his program. Um, and, I forget the name of the young lady that took over for Art. That's awful because I've talked with her several times. Bill Bean's been on her program. Um, Heather Wade is her
Okay.
name. And Heather took over Art's show. And I don't know if it's been a while since she's been on. Um, There's Lorraine says she's heard about the Ohio Bigfoot being aggressive.
From
Yep,
Michigan.
yeah. So there are a lot of reports
Ohio's
from Ohio.
little too. Like it's really not that. It's a small area, so they're probably just there's something there. Thank you, Lorraine. I mean, I think they're protecting. They're protecting something, and to be aggressive is more of probably to be protecting.
Yeah, and
Well,
I don't
that's
like aggressive. I don't like aggressive.
you've been blessed to just have the nice encounters, and that's why I wanted people to see this tonight because everybody always thinks that what we're talking about, whether it's the unseen realm, which is every Saturday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, hosted
Mhm.
by Archbishop Ronald Felton Enright, And
Don't forget, mark it on your calendars. Be
yeah, and we have Bishop Joshua here, Bishop Joshua Sparks. We've got Dr. Adrian Finkelstein. We've got Dr. Reverend Glenn Galtier and Desiree, our co-producer, along with me. So we've got this whole great team every Saturday. Where was I going now? I got lost. I got lost my track.
about the nice encounters I've had.
Yes, and so like that's what people always think when I'm posting my things for all of this, that it's always some horror. And I'm always like, no, I try to say it's different. Like we're trying to get real information. It doesn't have to be horror. I mean, even the other show, The Unseen Realm, I think it's more like psychological. I mean, it's like a almost like watching a Alfred Hitchcock show. It's scary, but you're suspenseful, you're getting facts, you're seeing things, and that's what I enjoy. I enjoy like learning, and so when I was glad that we could do this today because you know there's so few people that have got to experience what you have experienced the way you've experienced it.
Been blessed, and I want more experiences. I want to have time to be able to get back out in the woods and do some research. I'm ready.
Really, I would love to do that, and go on out there early and see what happens. Don't wait for me. But
if I go, I'm gonna take my camera. But somebody said, "Well, why don't you get no footage?" Well, when you see something that big, it's kind of hard to. You're sitting there trying to put your code into your phone, and it's walking by. I mean, you don't have time.
Well, and the one good thing I feel about is that I do believe in portals, and I do believe in dimensional frequencies. I've experienced it, I've seen it in my work, and it's been over 15 years of that, and I've had so much validation on our property and what I've seen. So I believe that they can go through and get away. And now some of them, maybe they can't, maybe there's something like that. But I mean, even I've heard, I think on a Push Ridge, there is something Ridge. And that's the one where that guy, he's been doing this forever. He's been on Bill Bean's show. Do you know who I'm talking about? He's an investigator. He's been like doing this since he was like 16. And something Ridge. Anybody here on the show know who I'm talking about? Anyway, that I mean, to me, it's like they'd seen. There's investigative reports that they see a UFO, and they'll see the lights coming down, and then all of a sudden the creatures will appear and walk. One of them was walking the fence line. It's in Small Town Monsters, and so that's how come I think like that family was living there. But I mean, if worse came to worse, they probably have ways or tunnels or ways that they can really hide.
Yeah, I'm sure they do because it's big cave systems out there. So I'm sure they can get in. I mean, if they're physical, they could be metaphysical. I mean, that's another way you could look at it. We could talk an hour about that.
Did you say metaphysical?
Yeah, are they flesh and blood, or are they some kind of supernatural creature?
Everything I have seen and read and heard, I believe that it's definitely supernatural. I mean, I really believe that. I believe they're physical and spiritual beings.
I do too.
Well, gosh, you've been a wonderful guest.
You have too. Well, next week we got a treat for everybody. We're going to have Charles Romans on. He is the host of the podcast Shadows of Legend. He's written several books, and he'll talk about everything from ghosts and demons to poltergeists to whatever we want to discuss with Charles when he comes on to be with us. He's Charles, and he's got one of those voices where you could just close your eyes and listen to him talk all night long.
Oh,
he just has an amazing voice, but he's a very intelligent man, and I'm looking forward to him being on with us next week.
Me too. And so could you say his name one more time so they can know where to look if people are listening?
Charles Romans. He's on Facebook. You can look him up. You can look up his podcast, Shadows of Legend.
Shadows of Legend.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds good.
It is a good podcast. So, but I'll have more information to send to you. A
Okay,
biography of information
great.
to send to you, so we can put together a little clip.
And we can make a good promo. I like to make today's promo because I got to make the I got to make like some visuals, and that's what I really, it's fun for me to do that. So I had fun making our little promo today. And sometime we want to have Desiree. We were trying to see if we could have Desiree on to kind of talk with us, but it just didn't work out. But we're going to have her come on as a guest in a, Desiree Valdez, co-producer of The Unseen Realm. And I got to say, she's been helping me finish my new book, and it's literally done. It but it's just got the last touches, which that just is like drives you nuts. The last touches of the book, but she's been a godsend to me, helping me finish this book and
She's
get it
amazing.
ready. She's just a jewel. So anyway, I thank her for that. And so we want to have her on sometime very soon, and we'll get a schedule set up, and you'll start seeing us talk about our schedule. There's so many incredible people that we want to interview, right, Bishop Joshua?
That's right. That's right. A lot of people out there that we want to get on
So
here.
many great people. So anyway, we thank Stan Fikes and Web Radio Network, the greatest network. I just love them. I think it's been almost 3 years that I've been with Web Radio Network, and they are just so wonderful. And a lot of great shows are on the network. So hey, they're always looking for sponsors. They've got Paracoms coming up too, I believe, in this year. And so if you ever want to sponsor things like that, or the Web Radio Network, our show, we are definitely looking for sponsors. I've never had a sponsor for this show, but I've had them in other shows I've done. So I mean, I think it's always a good thing, and we can definitely share your name out and say who you are if you want to sponsor whatever you are, if it works with our platform. And Bishop Joshua and I are in agreement with the content. We're happy to have you as a sponsor.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so Bishop Joshua,
And Sasquatch, he has to
oh
agree
yeah,
with it too.
that's right. And why don't you go ahead and lead us in a ending prayer, and then we'll close it out for today.
Okay, let's pray. Lord Jesus, we thank you for your love. We thank you for your salvation. We thank you, God, for the opportunity to pray and to seek your face and to just tell you how much we love you and how special you are to us and how important you are to us. God, I pray that you bless Mercedes and Joe, and I pray that you bless Stan and his wife. And uh, we pray for all those that are on this network, God, that their shows would go forth and that would have lots of response. And God, everybody that's listening tonight or watching tonight that may be sick, God, may be shut in, that may feel lonely, we pray that you just allow your spirit to go right now and touch them right where they're at, God. Touch them where they hurt. Heal them where they hurt today, God. And be to them that friend that sticks closer than a brother. Be real to them. Be special to them. All them that are suffering loss, that have lost somebody they love, wrap your arms around them and comfort them as only you can. And Father, bless our country, bless our military, bless our leaders, and most importantly, God, help us to reach out to the world and share the love of Jesus in this dark, dark world that we live in, because there is a light and it shines in the evening time for the world to see. And light drives away darkness, so help us to take the light to those who sit in darkness, that they might receive the light of life. For it's in the name of Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen. And please, everyone, know that Bishop Joshua is on Facebook and YouTube, and I believe, and he does prayers every day, so you can join him in this on his. And I love catching those or watching them on the rerun
I
on
appreciate that.
Facebook. But I also wanted to say that my husband Joe Benedict has an amazing show. And good night, Lorraine.
Good night, Lorraine. We love you.
Love you, Tucson Botanical Gardens, running all the way through August 31st. So please look that up on Facebook. The show is called Beautiful Spirit Interactive Art in Motion. You can see this on my Facebook, or we have our own, a 501c3 with My Beautiful Spirit Productions. And I really want to just share that out to the world. It's going so well. I'm so proud of Joe. We want to create another one. We are looking for sponsors for that also, donations and things for this nonprofit, My Beautiful Spirit Productions, and be sure to check out our YouTubes and be sure to just everything. Thank you. I ramble.
And they'll be glad that they did, because it's amazing what Joe's done.
It really is. It's amazing, and kids love it, and the adults love it. It's from all families love it, and it helps bring awareness to the animals, to the butterflies, to the birds. We're the whole thing. We're trying to bring awareness and help Mother Nature, animals, and all of that. So it's really important to me. All right, everyone. Good night. Thank you so much, Bishop Joshua, for being here with me.
It's good to be here.
This was a great show. I had fun tonight.
I did too.
And so next week we'll see you with the next one next Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
10 p.m. Eastern.
Oh yeah, you better go to sleep now.
Oh no, I'm a
Good night, everybody.
Good night. We love you all. God bless.
Stands ready.